I'm really happy to be here. I've been waiting for this. So I guess when I was around 4, I realized I knew things, like I was told things, I felt things. And it was comforting. I always felt like I had protection. It wasn't very accepted in my family. So, as you grow older, your parents, they do the best they can with what they have. And sometimes it comes out in an emotional, abusive way. And you kind of have to morph yourself into something else as a protective mode. I've always maintained that.
It's called adaptation, isn't it?
Yeah. I've always known I've been connected, but I've always had to kind of hide it, I guess, to survive. So my question is,
you have to hide being happy. You have to hide having clarity. You have to hide being intuitive.
I am that. I just keep it to myself.
Words don't teach anyway. And as our friend said earlier, he's all excited about what's going on here, but there's not many people that he can just explain it to.
You can't explain it to anybody. I've tried. It's funny because you see people connecting with you. They hear you, they understand you, but it goes away real quick, right?
The other day, Esther was in a situation where someone was asking her some very pointed questions about what she does. And she knew that it was an environment where they were not going to necessarily be eager to hear about it the way she knows that you understand it or that she understands it. She says, you know how the basketball player sometimes gets in the zone? It's like that. And when he's in that zone, he isn't all the time, but when he's in that zone, he just does exceptional things. His hand-eye coordination is improved. It's like he understands distances, even great distances. He can do things that most people can't do, and sometimes he can even do things that he hasn't even ever done before. Or the surgeon is performing a surgery and is inspired to something, and it's something new that he's never done before, but he does it and it is productive and effective. Or a minister or a preacher at the pulpit who is sort of streaming this understanding. She says, it's sort of like that. And they said, okay.
Yeah.
No, there are these entities, and the name of the entities is Abraham, and their collective consciousness, and they swarm around somewhere, and I get into the vortex. There are just ways to say it and ways not to say it. And a good teacher is understanding where the student is before they speak, because the whole point is to bring them along in understanding, you see. And if they're not asking, then there's no bringing them along in understanding that even needs to try to take place.
But see, that's the thing, so my family calls me Black Helicopter. I'm very different from them, and so I've just learned to kind of keep a lot of these thoughts. And
Smart.
Just keep it to myself, and I'm happier that way, and that's good. How do you deprogram? I want to deprogram all of the things that have been done and said to me in the past that I always knew that I wasn't, but it's there.
You can't unbelieve something, but you can believe something else. So it's not a matter of pushing against that. It's about focusing somewhere else. In the early days when Esther first began receiving Abraham, she wondered if she should explain it to her parents. And we said, we don't think it's a good idea because it will just make them worried about you, because they won't be able to understand it in the way that it is. And Esther said to us and to Jerry and to others about that, when something feels this good, I know that it must be. And just because someone else doesn't understand it and maybe wants to give it a different label, doesn't change the way it feels to me. And so what this is all about is about you having the confidence to trust that how it feels to you is all that matters, and someone else's perspective of it. That's what we said earlier, that Esther's coming, and you are too, more and more to understand that she can't get anybody else to perceive anything as she perceives it. And so it's sort of a waste of effort. And most people need other people to agree with them because they're not solid to begin with. When you're solid, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. When you know something, doesn't it not matter what anybody else thinks about it? So now what?
I'm grateful to have a lot of people in my life that I love, and they love me. I have 2 wonderful little boys. I have these great friends and great family. There are certain people who I feel like they see this in me, and they reach out to me for this a lot. I'm trying to stay up here, but it feels like they gravitate toward me and kind of, I give it all, and then I'm depleted.
That's why we've been talking a lot recently about the receptive mode, because when you can return there often, there's this replenishing. And so you don't get depleted, you don't get tired, because you're continually restoring. There are some teachers who empathize and go to where their students or those who are in need of them are, and then they get depleted, and then soon they don't feel good either. We talked about this earlier today. It's all about understanding what the receptive mode is and making sure that you're there more.
If you're bouncing all the time, because I feel like that's where I'm at right now. I'm receptive up in the vortex. I'm receptive to my surroundings, and it just bounces. How do I slow the momentum?
When you slumber, the momentum stops, but understanding this will help you. Bouncing around like that means that you are still mostly reacting to conditions. So if it's a good condition, you bounce high. If it's not a good condition, you bounce low. And so it's about gaining control. That's what that unconditional alignment is all about. And so the easiest way is to go general on the subjects. Go general. We think that you've hit on something that is important for you, and that is you've got some old records playing. Sometimes people believe their own bad press, or if there's someone influential in your experience that you care about what they think, and what they think isn't in harmony with what you know to be, but you know better than that. In other words, you're arguing for limitations right now that you don't even have in an attempt to justify some of the discouragement or negative emotion that you've had before. But that was then, and this is now. You're in a different place. Even being part of this conversation today has given you insight. You're feeling resonance with what we say because you innately know it, you see. And you're not grappling with anything that everybody else in the world isn't grappling with. In other words, it's sort of the same for all of you. All of you have an inner being who often joins you here, and you know it. And all of you deny that by focusing on things that causes you to dip from it, you see. There are just no other answers. There's no way around this. Sometimes a condition will happen that you can't change, and looking at it makes you feel terrible, and you almost want to lose your mind because you want to say, please, somehow change the condition so that I can feel good again. But you discover such freedom when you no longer need that condition to change. Jerry and Esther had more than 30 wonderful years together. Did you ever meet Jerry, or have you come in later? So they had just a wonderful, 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 wonderful time together. And then he took off, in Esther's estimation, unnecessarily and prematurely. She's really mad at him for quite a while about that. But she has come to understand that he gave her the greatest gift that he could have given, even more than all of the years that they shared together doing all kinds of things, and even in the discovery of this work and his questions that brought Abraham. The greatest gift that he ever gave her was by presenting to Esther a condition over which she had no control. And her desire to be happy prevailed. Because for a while, it didn't feel possible to even approach happiness under those conditions, but it was. And so it's given her freedom to understand that she doesn't have to control this and 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 this in order to be happy, you see. Don't ask anybody else to get you. It's not their job to get you. It's not their job to support you. It's not their job to understand you. That's the job of your inner being, and your inner being is doing it 24/7, 365 days a year, nonstop, loving you, getting you, knowing you, offering you very strong opinion about this and this and this and this and this. In every moment that you're focused, your inner being is right there, knowing, powerfully, powerfully knowing, you see. And it's your job just to allow yourself to put down your barricades and drop your resistance and defensiveness and allow that. And you know that. You know that. Enough? Or is there something specifically you're wanting?
There's a sense of loneliness.
It's lonely when others don't get you. Unless you realize that the feeling of loneliness is that you're focused upon something different than your inner being is. That's all loneliness is. Loneliness is you using something that you're focused upon as your excuse to not be in harmony with your inner being. You're lonely because you're out of alignment. The feeling of loneliness is being out of alignment with Source. The feeling of anger is being out of alignment with Source. The feeling of sadness is being out of alignment with Source. Every negative emotion is nothing more than being out of alignment with Source. But it feels like the reason you're lonely is because these people don't understand, or the reason that you're afraid is because of that and that and that, and it never is that. Those negative emotions are always, ever, only. You're in the moment of the loneliness, not allowing yourself to feel the fullness of who you are.
Why wouldn't I allow myself?
Because you have those habits of thought. Esther was feeling so sad one day, not long after Jerry, well, it was quite a while after Jerry made his untimely departure by her standards. She's never going to give in to the fact that that was a good idea. And then we were able to say to her, look for Jerry where he is, not where he isn't. Lonely when you're looking for somebody where they aren't, but not lonely when you're looking for somebody where they are. You're looking for love in all the wrong places. We say that to everybody, looking for love in all the wrong places, because it's there, you see. And once you consistently get that, then the details of your life and the manifestation of your life and the friends of your life and the details of your life fill in to match that, you see. But you're like almost everybody else. Give me this and then I'll feel this. Give me the manifestation and then I'll have the emotion in response to the manifestation. We say, find the emotion and it will guide you to the manifestation. Find the alignment and it will guide you there. Good? Really good.